Welcome back to the Maven Show. This is your host, Rohit. Today we have Scott, the entrepreneur and podcast host. Thank you, Scott, for getting into the show.
Rohit, it's so exciting to be here. I mean, look at all the trouble you went to make it a nice background, and you have such a special podcast, great information. It's just exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, and having a person like you who is running a comedy club, it's so much exciting for me as well. For sure.
Oh, I was so lucky, Rohit. I got a chance to open my comedy club long before you were born in 1980. And I had people like Bob Saget, Robin Williams, Gary Shandling, Ray Romano. They all worked for me. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Pretty cool. So yeah, would you just like to give a quick intro about yourself, like how you got started with everything, including entrepreneurship?
Well, sure. Why not? I started my first company when I was 17 years old. It was a small construction company. After a few years, I sold that and I opened up a portable disco. We were playing music for weddings and in schools. And then when I was 24 years old, I opened up Laughs Unlimited, which became a chain of 3 comedy clubs in Northern California. While owning the comedy clubs, I was pretty successful in the 80s. So I took that money and I opened up a jazz club, a couple restaurants, a couple art galleries. And get this, Rohit, I even had a submarine. That's right. I had a submarine in Monterey, California. Oh, I almost forgot. And I bought a beach shack in Hawaii so I could go to Hawaii tax-free.
That's pretty cool. Submarine.
Yeah, I tried to do a lot of different things. In 2001, after 21 years, I sold my comedy clubs and I opened a travel agency. And then after that, I had a small insurance brokerage. I try to do a lot of different things, always ends up about sales and customer service. But I'm a serial entrepreneur and I'm always looking for that next adventure.
No, that's pretty cool, like having a fun all the time.
Yeah, you have to have fun. The comedy clubs were probably the most fun because I got to work with, like I said, some pretty famous people, Paula Poundstone, Dana Carvey. In fact, Tom Hanks, the movie actor, was actually on my stage once.
That's cool. Awesome. So you've been an entrepreneur, you've been a serial entrepreneur. So tell me, if someone wants to start a business, what challenges of opening and running a business will be and can be?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I actually have an online course to help people start a business. But the answer to the question is you just have to have a passion for what you want to do, be prepared and kind of plan out, have a good business plan. And people say you have to have a lot of time and money, but I did most of my businesses with no money or little money, and I always was in a hurry. It's more important to have a plan, be really passionate, know you want to do it. And then here's the secret. You ready for the secret?
I am. Good.
The secret is there's somebody somewhere doing what you want to do. So go talk to them. They'll tell you all about the business. Why recreate the wheel, right? So when I wanted to open a comedy club, I went and talked to people that own comedy clubs and people that worked at comedy clubs. When I wanted to own a restaurant, I went and talked to people that owned restaurants and the staff and the chefs, even the customers. What do they like? What do they don't like? When I opened my construction company, I went to similar construction companies. Where do you get your paint? What do you charge? How do you get business? And people love talking about themselves. So why not learn from people that are already doing it and then go out and do it your way?
That's pretty cool. Awesome. So tell me something
about.
But
it's a secret.
I'm not gonna tell anyone for sure. Awesome. So tell me, you were running a comedy club. How was your experience with the comedy club? Because I have never saw the experience into the comedy club from anyone. So this will be pretty new for me as well. And for the audience, I guess.
Well, when I opened, I didn't have any experience. I was on vacation in Los Angeles and I went by Westwood, California, had a little satellite version of the Comedy Store, which is a famous, world famous club. And I just had such a good time. I was selling insurance at the time. And on the drive back, it's about a 6-hour drive from Sacramento to LA. On the drive back, I decided to quit my job, go bankrupt so I wouldn't have any debt, and start, working on opening a business. So I did that. When I got home, I quit my job and I got rid of all my debts. And then I went back to comedy clubs, this time in Northern California, talked to people that were in the business, talked to the comics. And then I just, finagled and wheeled and dealed my way. In fact, when I first opened Rohit, I didn't pay any lease. I got the room for free to put my comedy shows in. And it was just a great way to start. My very first act to hit my stage, the opening act, was Gary Shandling, who's gone on to fame and fortune as a movie star here in the US. Very, very talented guy. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but he was a big name comic, and he was my very first opening act.
And how long you been doing the comedy club? I think 10 years, right? And
Well, what's interesting is I opened my club in 1980, but I ran it for 21 years and I sold it. When I opened it, it was the 12th club in the entire US, full-time comedy club. And now, 42 years later, it's still operating. I don't own it, but my club, Laughs Unlimited, is still open here in Sacramento, and now it's one of the oldest clubs in the country, and I'm very proud of that.
And that's pretty cool. Awesome. So you yourself, as a serial entrepreneur, so what would you recommend? Shall someone will be owning one specific business or owning multiple businesses for the multiple stream of income?
Well, it depends on your goal. You and I were talking before we turned on the recording that to start a business, as I mentioned, you want a good business plan, you want a passion for what you're going to do. But I'm a serial entrepreneur. Once I had success with the comedy club and I was making money, instead of buying boats and motorcycles or toys, I took that money and invested in other businesses. So that, like, I opened a restaurant. So the comedy club was late night, the restaurant was during the day. So now I had money coming in all the time. And then I had a passion for animation art. So I opened up an art gallery just so I could get art cheaper as a wholesaler for myself.
And that's
so there's always a way to, there's always a way to get into something that benefits you depending on what you want. I didn't make a lot of money on the art gallery, but as a art gallery owner, I got access to artwork and got better pricing than if I was a retail customer. Does that make sense?
It is. Yeah, I get it. So would you just like to explain about the brick and mortar business as well? So you've been into that, and I think many of the people don't know about this. So how you would like to explain that?
Well, right now, there's probably 1,000 people on YouTube and on the internet saying, we'll help you start an online business. And that may be the wave of the future. I'm old and I'm old school, and I did brick and mortar businesses. So now my new retired adventure is the Brick and Mortar Mentors, where I help young people that want to open a brick and mortar store. So whether it's a bookshop, a small restaurant, anything brick and mortar, I can help them traverse the challenges to get open and hopefully succeed. But everybody needs to know that it's really difficult to succeed as an entrepreneur. I have failed many times. In fact, that submarine I bought, I lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars on. But I still own the submarine. I did something fun, but it was a big failure as a business because the water in Monterey was too cold and we kept having a problem with algae bloom. And so we had to pay a scuba diver to clean the windows all the time, and it didn't work. We lost money. We sold the submarine to the Wrigley Gum family, and it's now operating in Catalina, California in SoCal.
Awesome.
The advice for brick and mortar people is it's different than an online business. Something else, all these people on the advertising says it's easy. it's never easy. If you're going to be successful, be prepared for hard work, right? Like you.
And be prepared for failures as well.
Oh, you have to fail. If you don't fail, you're not learning,
And we
right? The
will not
people
get,
that,
and yeah, and we will not succeed as well if you're not failing, you know.
right, right. I've failed many times. I've succeeded many times, but I think that my successes were easier and better because I had learned something
Mm.
by failing. In other words, when you make mistakes, it's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. Just don't do it a second time.
Yeah,
Learn from your mistakes, right? So when I had businesses that were failures, I learned something, and then the next business I did was that much better.
that's what I'm always thinking, and that's what I do too. Yeah.
Right. Well, as Emmett Stone once said, failures are the stepping stones to success.
Mm.
And it's important to put yourself out there. I think the difference between a normal person and an entrepreneur is that we're willing to take risk and bet on ourselves. In other words, I didn't always succeed and I didn't always know what I was doing, but I had faith in me and that I would be willing to do the hard work that it took to try to make something be a success. And most of the time it worked. I mean, I didn't always, but most of the time. And the other thing, and I'm going to add this for your listeners,
Mhm.
Rohit, it's important to have fun,
Yeah.
right? You know, if you want a job sitting in a cubicle working for the county or the state, that's a different personality. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to own your own business and you're willing to take risk and work hard, just make sure it's something you have a passion about.
Yeah.
You know, don't open a bookstore if you don't know how to read.
No, yeah. And you know, like risk and reward is something which is interrelated as well, you know? Yeah.
No, it's this is all great advice, and so I'll send you a bill later, okay? Uh, but the idea is the Brick and Mortar Mentors, which is my new company. We're here to help people that have an idea that they want to do something, but they're not sure of what the next step is. And a lot of
Mm.
times that's what holds people up. They don't know what's next. Like, I have an idea, I know where I
Yeah.
want to put it, I think I can do the money, but what's next?
Mm.
And so because I've been there and done that, I can help people know what that next step is, whether it's getting a license or a permit or the best location or when to open or making sure you have the finances set up. Um, it's really important that you have faith in yourself, but it never hurts to have a mentor or somebody that's done it.
Business is easy? What do you think? Is business easy?
No, I said that. It's really hard. You have to really want it. You know, you can't dream about something. You have to go for it. Take the risk. Take that leap of faith in yourself, right? You
Awesome.
know, it was Walt Disney that said, stop talking about it and start doing it.
Yes.
A lot of people have trouble getting off you know, getting going, right?
Tell me like a little one question, you know, like what's the difference between the corporate employee doing a job in an MNC with a great salary, you know, starting a business? What he will be or what the person will be struggling on, you know, like they what's the difference? Because there is a whole different perspective, I think.
Well, it is a big difference being the owner of something, the supervisor versus being an employee. I
Mm.
think the difference is that the owner, the creator of the business, has to wear many hats,
Yes.
right? So when you're an employee, you might be in marketing or you might be in sales or you might be in HR. When
Mm.
you own a business, you're all those departments and more, right? You're responsible for everything. So when I opened up a comedy club, we had to sell food and sell drinks. So I was a bar owner, I was a restaurant owner, I was a nightclub owner, but I also had 100 employees. So I had to be a HR manager, and then I had to hire the comics, the entertainment. So I had to be a booker, an entertainment manager, and then I had to manage the money for all these different departments so that I didn't go out of business. Then I had to buy alcohol, so I had to be a vendor and be able to buy wholesale. So I had to learn about wholesale, right? So there's all these little nuances. Whoa, the biggest one of all, I had to be my own advertiser and marketer, right? I had to decide where to invest my money to bring in the most business. So all these different jobs are what an entrepreneur does. Whereas if you go and work for somebody else, you have one responsibility. When you're responsible for your own business, you have many responsibilities. And only certain people can manage that and handle that. But if you are one of those people and you have the passion and you have the work ethic, you can make your dream come true.
That's true. Any best advice do you have for anyone who is getting started with a business? What should they know before starting a business?
They have to have faith in themselves, and it's good to have a solid business plan. You can get a template on any, go to the Googler and put in business plan, and it'll give you kind of a basic outline, or get a hold of me at the Brick and Mortar Mentors, and we'll provide a template. But you do need to kind of have a path, a plan, right? You let's make an example. I want to open a flower shop, right? So before you do that, go talk to people that own flower shops, and then make sure you're going to be happy owning a flower shop. And then talk to the wholesalers. Where am I going to get my flowers? Then you want to find the right location where you'd have some competition, but not too much competition. Then you're going to have to figure out, well, how much, what can I afford to invest in a location, and how dressy do I want to make it? It's so funny, Rohit, that some people, if I wanted to open a flower store, I'd put in some simple bookshelves and just put flowers everywhere. Other people go all out and they have glass cases and chandeliers and all this fancy stuff. But you know what? None of that helps you sell, right? You just need the flowers and the marketing to get those flowers out there. So there's all those different little nuances you want to think about, whatever the business you want to do. That might be too vague, but it really, there's so many opportunities out there.
Yes, it is. Awesome, Scott. So yeah, well, thank you so much for getting into the show, talking about the challenges starting and running a business, and about your story, obviously, owning more than one business, So yeah, thank you so much for being in.
Well, it's been great being on your podcast, and I just want to inspire people that if you have a dream and you have a passion, don't be shy and quiet. You got to go for it. You want to be the loudest guy in the room. Wow, wow, wow.